I know there are people, hello, I know there are people who watch your channels simply to hear both of you talk. I mean, I could listen to both of you for hours. You could talk about the paint drying and I'd be good. It'd be like, oh, the accents are amazing. If you're wondering what we're carrying on about, first, hello and welcome to all the viewers. We've just been joking about accents and understanding each other. I would like to give a huge thank you and big welcome to, in the middle, we have Mark, Dead Cold, and Dan on the end, World of Mr. Gray. And it's so awesome having the two of you here. I know we've been trying to coordinate schedules and everything for a while, and that's the challenge, not just being an ocean apart. It's work schedules and availability and so many different things. So I'm just going to quick go through, and this is going to be new for me, guys, because I'm not used to this many people in the chat room. So if I don't get to all the comments, forgive me. Usually there's just like 7 of us kicking around. So hello to Thorn Graves, Hammer Toe. Hey, Kat, just saw you a little while ago on our reading sprints. Hello, Jenny Mann. Stridey. Yes. Hey, look, there's World of Mr. Gray. Haven't seen him in a while. Hello, Jenny J. And I think hello, Diane. Welcome to everyone. So today we're going to chat about 30 East Drive, and I know you've both been there. And I just have a quick little presentation. So if some of the viewers, hello, Mike, thank you for joining us. If some of the viewers aren't familiar with it, I did this little quick thing. So it's a council house that was built in the 1950s. So the two homes are attached, correct? It's two houses together?
Yeah, semi-detached.
Okay. Now, for people like me in Canada and some of my American viewers, what does a council house mean?
It well, it used to mean that you'd get at a reduced rent if I believe, or something like, if you
Yeah.
couldn't buy a house, you could rent it off the government. Basically, that's where a council house is.
Okay.
Essentially,
So
Social
it's
housing, if you want to
yeah,
call it that.
yeah.
okay, and here we have it's called geared to income. So people don't actually own the property, but they have a lower rate so that it makes it affordable so that they can have a home.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. Now, there were two families actually at 30 East Drive, correct? But it was the Pritchard family where things really started ramping up, and that's the most well known.
Yeah,
I don't.
you also had the Farah family before them who handed it off to the Pritchards, basically,
Okay, thank you.
essentially.
And so we had Jean and Joe, the parents. Philip was 15, Diane was 12. The entity, whatever it is either called Fred or the Black Monk, depending on what you refer to. And the current owner is Bill, watch me say this wrong, Bungay. Is that
That's
correct?
right.
Yeah,
Woohoo! Yay me! And he's the one who currently owns it. He'd done a documentary and a movie and decided to buy it and make bucks. In the description box down below, and there is a reason that's in this order. I first found Dan, thank you, YouTube recommendations, my first debunker through Dan and his shout out to the Ouija Brothers. I began following them, and that's how I met Mark Dead Cold. So we have that nice little flow. Now, if you're interested, and please do go check out their channels. Dan has his episode when he investigated with the Ouija Brothers. And I've put the title there because sometimes YouTube does not play nice with me and add the link properly. So that's the title that you want. And when you go to his channel, go to the search box for 30 East Drive. Dead Cold also, and for the history, specifics, and that amazing voice, watch his episode, because not only does Mark talk about the property, he goes way back into the land, and the whole, I think, is important because it's not just what's there right now. It's about what happened before that building even happened. So definitely check out Dead Cold's channel. And Ouija Brothers, can't forget those boys. They've been going to this property for 8 years, and they have a number of different videos. Specifically, check out their Halloween one from 2022, because they spoke with both of the owners, the past one and the current one. They're excellent interviews. And what I do want to say before I hand it over to Mark and Dan is that Dan did an amazing interview with the Ouija Brothers. He always sells himself short when he does those interviews, but it was excellent, so informative and well done.
I appreciate it.
I appreciated listening to it. It was great being able to get to know them a bit better, and just, it was relaxed and chill and not high stress. As I was talking, I noticed Sir Spookfest had come in. Hello and welcome. I apologize. I'm going to end up missing comments. This is this is so new. Look what you guys have done to me. Made me do live streams. Now I'm trying to catch up with comments.
Let them wait. Let them wait.
Thank you, Jenny. I had to catch that one. It's like, aw, so cute. There are people lurking and people saying hello to Mark and Dan, which is amazing. Nice
I hope everyone's
presentation.
all right.
Figured out how to use PowerPoint. Get her into StreamYard. Yay me.
I have not used PowerPoint for a long time. Fair play.
I don't think I've ever used it.
Yeah, seeing, well, I'm kind of that nerdy girl who in school, that's what I did when I worked in public and high schools. I was teaching students how to use software to help with their reading and their classes. So it was either programs that would read to them or dictate for them, which is funny. I'm obsolete now because everything's just right built into Google and all of that. They don't need those.
Nobody is obsolete. Google is not right on in a lot of things. That's you gotta remember.
I don't disagree, because Google, didn't have my animation and get the kids engaged, but it is what it is. But so Dan, you went. Now, here's what I should mention as well, and I always stress this part. So Dan is our debunker, open skeptic,
Yes.
as he says, and it needs to be clarified, he does not debunk the paranormal.
No.
He debunks and I love this word because I can say it and not get, slammed, bollocks videos and channels.
I would have said to myself, I'm trying to behave on your live stream, so
That's okay. I have to behave too, and it's my live stream. But so it's not that you're against the paranormal.
No.
Your issue has to do with people pretending to be real and trying to pass things off as real.
Yeah, with me, I've always been fascinated with the paranormal since I can't even remember, since I was a kid back in the early 80s, and I was reading ghost books all the time. And I fully believed, full-blown believer. I was terrified of ever seeing anything at the bottom of my bed. I used to sleep at my grandmother's on the weekend. She had this back bedroom which I used to sleep in. It was always freezing cold in there, and I was always told that if it's cold, it's ghosts, and it terrified me. But as I got older, I became more skeptical and more logical in the way of thinking. And when I say, yeah, I don't debunk the paranormal, I definitely give my opinions where I think is going on in certain situations and certain events. But yeah, my thing has always been, and to be honest with you, it's not that I have an issue with the fakery, but I still can't stop saying, "Look at that! It's not what you think." That's what my thing is. Like, I don't. It's not the be all and end all when it comes to people faking stuff. It's the way YouTube is, unfortunately. But I won't die on the sword of us against them, so to speak, if you know what I mean. That's the way I look at it, anyway.
Now, I have a comment about the fakery, but first, I want to give Mark a chance to speak. Mark is our paranormal investigator. As I say,
Kinda.
does an amazing job. You are, and I love watching your episodes. They're well put together. No, they're not every week, but that's because you do the research, you go deep into the history of a place, you take it seriously, you make sure you're presenting what you want to, and it's just an amazing watch. I mean, it's always worth the wait, no matter what you
Yeah.
produce, whether it's your stories or your investigations. Tell us a little bit about you and your channel, because I know you're changing things a bit too. So,
I am changing things, to be fair. I've kind of like fallen out of love, dare I say, with a paranormal investigating. Anyway, let's just start from the beginning. So yeah, like Dan, I've been at a long interest with all things spooky and ghostly and all that kind of stuff ever since I was a little kid. And we even like maybe I might have said this before in one of my other live streams, beginnings of me and my brother and a couple of lads on the estate where I grew up had our own little ghost club or horror club kind of thing. Where we used to go around down dark lanes, scaring the living daylights out of each other. But
a lot of fun.
but I've always been into it, to be fair. And it was just through watching YouTube one day and found I was going to go to a place in Nottingham, and I looked it up on YouTube, found the Ouija Brothers there at the place that I was going to be going to. So I watched that. And just kind of went on from there, really. Decided eventually, after bugging Steve from the Ouija Brothers many times, he says, "Why don't you go out and do it yourself?" He said, "Just, you're never going to know until you go out and do it yourself." So I did. And there we go. So I kind of like try to approach it really from the folklore and historic hauntings, documented hauntings point of view, rather than going in blind. I normally have a look at a place first, where some people might do it the other way around. They might go there first, do an investigation, and then look back to see if actually in the history or hauntings of the place, documented hauntings of the place, and see if they actually found anything. But since I've been doing this now for 4 years, that's been just over 4 years there now. I've had the channel anyway for just over 4 years,
nice.
and I've kind of fallen out of love with investigating per se, and I'm kind of going to go, and that's going to be my next video. I'm kind of getting myself back into what kicked me off in the first place, which was folklore, and that's probably that'll be my next video, to be fair.
Nice. And go ahead, Dan.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I just want to say I first discovered Mark. Didn't discover him. It's not like I'm his talent agent or anything, but I first became aware of Mark.
He still hasn't paid me a finder's fee.
But it was when
You should.
it was literally when I first discovered the Ouija Brothers, and it was an episode of Pendle Hill when they all got lost. I was laughing my arse off. Honestly, it was one of the funniest episodes I ever saw, and that was the first time I watched Ouija Brothers, and and Mark was in those videos. It was hilarious.
That was a damn good weekend. That was, and my legs were absolutely wrecked by the end of that.
They just got lost on Pendle Hill. It was brilliant. but what I will say as well, Mark's where he's saying he's fallen out of love with a certain thing. It's easily done when you jump into something so much and you're constant day by day doing something like me with the debunking side of it. I don't do nowhere near as many deep dives as I used to do.
Yeah.
And it's easily done on YouTube, unfortunately. Like my channel is going to be 10 years old. This channel is my second channel, but this will be 10 years old now in a couple of weeks, a month or
Wow.
something.
Bravo indeed, Dan.
Yeah.
Happy
And
anniversary.
mine's been gaming, mine's been exploring. I still enjoy my adventure walks and stuff. And I still
love
enjoy the
those.
breakdown of stuff as well. I still really enjoy it. But yeah, I can totally understand when you think I just want to try something else. Like you know, you do something for so long, or you become, I can't think of the words, but yeah, I can totally understand. And if Mark doesn't do his folklore stuff first, I'll be taking over from him and making my own videos because I'll definitely do it.
Well, and I think there's an interest for that because, Mark, I saw your post and then I went to watch the different live stream. And to be honest with you, and again, this is no shade on any of the channels, and I'm not saying any names, but I probably unsubbed from at least 30 paranormal channels because it was just, I don't want to say the same thing over and over because I mean, there's so many things you can do. I get they're testing the equipment, they go to different locations, but I just, for myself, and since you've both shared as well, for me, I'm a full blown believer. It does not mean I'm gullible or stupid.
No, it doesn't. No. My mother's a full blown believer, and she's not gullible. So yeah, I totally
exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, it's because of things I grew up with and things that happened in my house. And so my quest or search into all of this is, what was it and why did some of it focus on me? And there were things that couldn't be explained. And I haven't mentioned this in any other videos, but so one example was my hands got stuck in a window. Like literally the window came crashing down on my arms.
Cartoon
And I
style.
was just,
Cartoon style.
yeah, pretty much. And I was just tiny, so I couldn't lift, and I had to wait for someone to come find me. There were other weird things with electrical stuff, but only if I was in the room.
Yeah.
Dad checked the wiring. We changed light bulbs. Didn't matter. And I know it wasn't electrical because I'd be sitting there either in my room trying to read, or if I was heading out trying to like do makeup, whatever, and it'd be going blink, 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 blink. Like I wish I'd known Morse code. Maybe it was trying to tell me something, but it would just make me so angry. And I'd be like, stop it. Like I'm trying to read. And it would. It would. That sometimes freaked me out because I'm like, well, that's not electrical because it should still be blinking if it's.
Yeah.
So I've been looking for answers and explanations, and I love a good ghost story. I mean, this whole pile of books, and that's only a part of it. But I'm looking for answers, and I think, Mark, you hit it on the head when you said, just wanting to sit quiet and see what happens instead of, is this the right angle? Is this, going to be a good video at the end? And excuse me, Dan, you bring up a lot of excellent points too, as in audio pareidolia. So
Yeah.
is that an EVP, or does it just kind of sound like it? And then because your mind wants to make patterns, same as visual, right? It's just a piece of toast. Jesus isn't coming to bless the house, right?
I've seen a lot of Jesus face in toasts, and there might be something to that. You don't know.
And see, I don't know. You've got the Ouija board there, Dan, and I wouldn't touch that sucker with a 10-foot pole anywhere near my house. There's just no way.
It still hasn't possessed me yet, which I'm a bit disappointed in, really. But
I do want to bring, every once in a while I'm glancing over and trying to focus. And just want to point out, shared an apartment with Mark at Chillingham, not passing, no comment.
Yeah, and the worst thing was as well, there was another guy there as well. Read that one, whatever you want. Right back at you, Diane.
Had an interesting time. No bedtime stories. But Jenny does say great investigations at the castle.
Yeah, it was. It was really good to actually go there. It was a bit of a from visiting there because I've done 2 videos there. One I did myself as a bit of just like a daytime walk around because I hadn't been there since I was a kid. And my mum and dad would told me that they actually took me there as a kid, and I can't really remember it. So I think it was about 2-3 years ago there. I decided to go. I wanted to see my mum one summer. I live in the south of England, and Chillingham's in the northeast of England. So where my mum is as well in Durham. So I went up there, stopped up for a week. Decided to go on one lovely day in the northeast summertime. It just all of a sudden got up to about 25 degrees during the day, which is quite unusual.
Wow.
And went up to Chillingham Castle and had a fantastic day and walked around, took the camera. And so there's a bit of a tourist kind of walk around there, which is, quite informative. Really enjoyed it. And then I always said that I would love to come back here if I could ever afford it. And then literally, I think it was pretty much a year to the day that I went back there. If you can hear meows coming through, my cat is trying to get out the bedroom door. Constantly, she's looking at me and meowing at me. She's like, she will not shut up. Then they always say, "Don't work with children and animals," don't they? But yeah, it was.
My kids are here.
I was it was pretty much year to the day, and went back there and did an investigation with Diane.
Tiki's
oh
up
God,
there
you
behind the lion.
You've got acrobatics going on up there.
I do. They've got a cat tree. It keeps them. Well, I can't say it keeps them out of mischief. They're just little monkeys. But yeah, and personally, Dan, when you do your walks outside, I love it because it gives us a chance to see the country. And for me, living in Canada, it's like, wow.
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
There's the place I live, obviously Wales. I mean, the south of Wales. It has issues like any other country, but
yeah, of course.
the scenery is, to me, is the best. Honestly, it's just, I'm surrounded by mountains, by forests, waterfalls, and it's a very good, for lack of a better term, brain refresher when I go out on those walks. And I really enjoy them.
Well, see, and I hang out a lot in my yard, and I put up some of my gardening videos. Like, that's my happy place.
I tend to avoid my garden because it winds me up. To be honest with you.
When I saw yours, I'm like, damn, if I could get on a plane and get in that yard, man, it would
please.
be immaculate.
You're welcome.
You'll pay for your flight.
Yeah.
Because for me, because I'm home all day, because I've got the back thing and all of that, and the yard is what keeps me sane. One, because I live in the city, which, but here I am, came for work and all of that. But my yard, I am so grateful. We have a house, I can get out, and that's my happy place. I hear the birds and I watch the plants and all of that. And that's why I enjoy your walks around Wales. It's just that beauty. And Mark, when you do your videos as well, it's really focusing on the building. So there's that outdoor, and for someone like me who can't get to England, it's a wonderful way to learn about the country and the history and just so many things. So for me, it isn't just the paranormal. There's just so much more there, right? You're learning about history and people's experiences.
Yeah.
Not just, what goes bump in the night type of a thing.
Yeah. But for me especially, I think the history is very, very much a part of what you might akin to being a haunted place. I think the history is comes hand in hand with anything haunted or paranormal or story based.
Yeah, absolutely. The history of places is what fascinates me equally as much as the paranormal story behind it. I always say I'm a history guy. In school, I wasn't good at many things, but I excelled in physical education, physics, chemistry, and history. I love history, and this is why whenever like I go to a supposedly haunted place, or if someone makes a video on it, I always deep dive into the history of the place and see what happens. And it's always interesting.
See, and to be honest, that's part of why I like Amy's Crypt. Although I
Yeah.
haven't been even watching her very much lately, but she at least same as you, Mark, but not as deep, I find anyway. But she starts with the history
She
and
does,
then
yeah.
they do their investigation. But Mark, I really like yours because it goes not just here's the building, what else happened all prior, because to me that's part of it, right? It's not
Yeah.
just the building that's there right now. It's what is that collective energy? But I'm getting behind on comments and things here. So, question to Mark: have you had a paranormal experience yourself?
I want to say no, which is I know is probably an unfortunate thing to say. But even when I've been doing doing paranormal investigations now for, well, if you want to call them paranormal investigations, under that kind of like YouTube banner. Yeah, well, if you want to say them, going to a supposedly haunted place and staying there for a while, if that's an investigation, then so be it. It is. But yeah, I don't think I've ever had. I can't put my hand on heart and say, yep, I've had a paranormal experience. And that's maybe what's what's fatigued me a little bit with investigating, because I went into this being pretty much a full-on believer, and 4 years later I'm pretty much a full-on skeptic. But that's just what changes you. If you're honest, if you are going to go into this with honesty, that's what will change you.
I have a quick question for you, Mark, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You say you were a full-blown believer before you went into this, and now you're pretty much on the other side of the spectrum. Is that because of your personal experiences or the experiences you've seen on YouTube?
A bit of both, I think, Dan. Good question, by the way, sir. I think it was a bit of both, really. With watching YouTube investigations, I don't really watch that many these days, unfortunately, because I just like Elaine, like going back to what Elaine said earlier on. It's very samey, and that's no disrespect at all to anybody that still does it.
Exactly.
I've made a lot of good friends within the paranormal YouTube world, and I've got a lot of respect for what they do. And if they keep on going at it, and still putting out quality content for everybody to watch, then fair play to them and more power to them. It's become not really for me anymore, to be fair. I'm not going to say I'm not going to investigate anymore, because I am. I've got something coming up in November, which I had booked in the beginning of this year. But so I've got that coming up. But it's a bit of both. It is a bit of both. Seeing people and what honest YouTubers going to places and seeing what they've caught. And then obviously what I've caught as well in my own experiences is probably pretty much made me into like well, not a non-believer. I have a funny feeling there is something out there, but I'm of the ilk there now that it's either, if there is something out there, and there is such things as ghosts, if you want to call them that, then that's either of exceptionally rare occurrence to actually come across one, see one, feel one, whatever you want to call it. Or they are just a projection of certain people's minds and brains.
Oh, I like that idea.
It's like a bit of a collective.
Episode, Hell House Season 1, and I've brought it up in another video I did. And Sam,
I was thinking of Star Trek myself, but that's where my brain usually goes.
Natural. Mine could be Star Trek, Star Wars. The Hell House episode, I keep coming back to that one because it ties in with what you're saying, Mark. In that episode, they're going to get rid of a spirit in a house. They're basing everything on what they've been told it's going to be, so that they're shooting it with their salt but it changes. And then when they come out, and that's when ghost facers come into the series, and they're fake paranormal, and they've got their website. And what they discover is each time they put a story on the website, it changes. And as all these people are honed in on it, the spirit in the house changes based on everyone's belief.
Mm.
And excuse me, not to start any drama, but that's what I think about Grace at MHH. You think of all the millions of people honed in on that
Oh,
one
right. Okay. Sorry.
haunted doll, and how much of what happens with that doll is all the energy globally going into that one location when they watch things. I don't know.
It's
It's something to,
it's similar to I think it was in the 70s or something. The Philip experiment. Have you heard of the Philip experiment?
I just came across that. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, in the Monster Hunters book that
Oh,
I
nice.
mentioned.
But yeah, they
by the way.
yeah, they basically tried to basically do an experiment where if they I'm going off memory, so I could be wrong in some details, but basically their theory was if they believed in something so much they could manifest a ghost or a spirit or something. That was
Yeah.
the Philip experiment. And obviously things started happening, but then again that goes into ideomotor movement and the belief, the strong belief in something. If like the saying is, if you believe in something, it'll happen. If you want to become famous, it'll happen. If you want to become a millionaire, it probably won't happen, but it could happen. You don't know. But
well, my husband hasn't won Lotto Max yet, so I'm not.
No, not me.
No, me.
I'm constantly depressed over it. But but no, yeah. They did the experiment that if they believed so much that they could manifest something, and they didn't manifest a spirit, but obviously. They think, oh, I felt something or I heard something, and that could have been the collective. This is not mass hysteria, but it's similar to that, basically.
Yeah, they're all on the same wavelength.
Yeah,
exactly. We have another question, Dan and Mark. Any plans to work together on something?
I happily would.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah. One of us would have to wear a wig, man, because our luscious locks standing side by side is it could, they might not be able to tell the difference.
If it's a bright day, there'll be so much glare coming through the camera, mate.
But no, absolutely 100% happily would.
I think that would definitely be a viral video, and much better than some of the drama that's going viral. And Diane makes an excellent point here. Sometimes things can be very subtle.
No,
and
she's
I
right.
agree. I mean, and to be honest, Dan, every time I hear you say, I want something to happen.
I want something to happen.
Mark, now that you've said you haven't had something happen, I listen to you guys and I'm thinking, oh, hell no, you don't. I would happily have swapped my stuff as a kid with anyone who would take it. I really, really would.
I've always said I've had my skepticism tested a few times over the years. I've told the story in my old house where I just moved in, and every time I went to bed at night, I moved in during the winter, and every time I went to bed at night, I could hear this like creaking and knocking out on my landing. And for the first time, I was like, I'm not moving. I'm not going to see what that is. I'm just going to try and fall asleep and just ignore it. The second night, it was happening again. Third night, it was happening again. I finally went out, stood out on the landing in the dark. Yep. I realized it was coming from a window, and then I realized, it's really windy outside. And that was the window. But I have always said, if something ever, if I saw a ghost, and it would have to be bloody good. It'd have to be something walking through my wall, right in front of me.
Full body.
I want a full body, full blown apparition. I want.
You don't ask for much.
Scooby Doo.
I want the librarian from the Ghostbusters to come at me. That's what I want. And yeah, it would absolutely 100% scare the crap out of me. 100%, sorry, not 100% scare. It would absolutely scare the crap out of me, but then that would change my life. That would, I've always said, that would change my complete perspective on life and death in general. So yeah, I'd be very happy if something like that happened to me. That's the way I look at it. It's only a positive thing for me.
I want to.
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
mind if I
glad
just?
didn't have a full. Go ahead. Yep.
Do you mind if I just address Spook Fest's
Yeah, of course.
thing there?
That's why.
So part and parcel of what he's actually saying there is I mean, I've tried it a few times. Only a couple of times in the last 4 years have I tried this of not having cameras on and just being there in the moment. And I still haven't actually really caught anything. I've had a few odd things happen, but I don't know. Maybe that's just like, maybe that's just me with the overactive imagination. But what I intend to do, though, going forward, I know I'm saying I'm not going to do any more investigations for a while, but I'm not going to do any more cameraed investigations for a while. I actually want to go to these places to actually to I don't know, to be in the moment kind of thing, without looking down at without looking down a viewfinder or a screen at what I'm trying to do. Constantly trying to, like, I got that shot there, or I need to do this bit of narration from here, or I need to get the right camera angle there. It's just whenever I go to these majority of places I've been to, I've always got the camera with me. So, and it's I go back to what Diane has said there. I mean, she's a fantastic friend as Diane's been over these last few years. And it's been fantastic to have her knowledge as well, because she's been doing a hell of a lot longer than what I have. But she doesn't just because she doesn't have a camera, because she doesn't have a YouTube channel, doesn't mean she isn't a good investigator, because she's a fantastic investigator. Yep. And but she's very knowledgeable and does a lot of history as well. Yeah, legendary lady. Back at you there.
Going on what Mark was saying, I remember your post you made about that, by the way, where you said it shouldn't be about the camera angle, the film setup, and I made a video specifically on your comments elaborating on what you were saying, and I think you're right. And it's there's nothing against people who do this on YouTube. I'm friends with a lot of them, and I totally understand why they do it. But I think you could, when you were using a camera, when you're setting up shots or whatever, I think you could worry too much about what you're trying to find in the viewfinder instead of, like you said, experiencing it, standing in the moment, taking in the building, taking in the atmosphere. When you're looking with a camera and you're worried whether you got your ISO settings are correct or not, you can probably take away from what you maybe should experience or trying to experience it in a place like that. So yeah, I totally understand that.
See, and I have to say, as a viewer, because I don't go out and investigate, I mean, my stuff has either been stuff that happens to me or happened when I was growing up mostly, or reading, and then I watch the videos and that as well. I've talked to other people who have had experiences. But as a viewer, and I'll go with the YouTube videos, I find it frustrating when the camera keeps moving. I'm like, just hold the damn thing still so I can look for a few minutes, right? But I also get that you're doing it because, and I'm not saying that it's faked, but for entertainment and keep other people's interest going, you have to keep kind of moving along. And that can get frustrating because as soon as you've moved the camera, and it was Sir Spookfest who said it, right? I'm willing to bet for a number of people, just as they've moved the camera, they've caught something out of the corner of their eye, but the camera was in another direction. But
I think I think there's only certain channels. I mean, I can name you about 10 channels who do that kind. I'm not going to name them, but
Thank
you.
Yeah. Channel, man.
Yeah, but I'd say they're the more popular channels, put it that way. And they will use the quick pan and the crash zoom because it holds a certain. I don't want to speak out of term here, but it holds a certain generation's attention when it's quick cuts and crash zooms and stuff like that. That's why they do it. It's not about they're interested in the spot. Like you can see someone who, on these channels I'm talking about now, you can see them talking to someone. It's just a piece of camera, someone, and he's zooming in like 10, 20 times during like a 1 minute thing. And it's just
It's seasick.
yeah, and it's the style of editing
Yeah.
that a certain generation enjoy. I'm just going to say it that way. And I'm not a fan of that style myself. But yeah, I understand why some people do it.
Well, Blair Witch Project, which by the way is, and I probably have the term wrong, RPG. Is that right?
Well, it's technically an ARG. It's not even an ARG, is
you
it?
know it.
I suppose. I suppose you
not
could
real.
term. No. But the marketing was some of the best marketing I ever seen when that first came out.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I thought it was brilliant, the marketing. And the film, I actually enjoyed the film. You know,
See,
you look at it now and it's been done to death a million times over, but then it was pretty good, which, although there was one that came out before that called The Last Broadcast, which was a Canadian film crew, by the way, which was a really good film.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
It was a good film. No, it is a really good film. Last Broadcast. Look it up. It's probably on YouTube. They did it first, but then Blair Witch made it better,
Overshadowed.
basically. Yeah.
That
But I
happens
suppose
to
you
us
could
a lot.
I suppose you could technically call the Blair Witch an ARG because they did market it as real in the beginning, at least, anyway.
We'll see in a lot of them, the different channels, and again, I'm not, because it happens on a lot. I don't want to see the floor as you're running. Why do I care about that? Didn't you edit the damn thing before you uploaded it?
Again,
5 hours of video.
Again, that is a certain type of channel for a certain type of generation.
Well, one of them are Canadian, and I left them early. And
Canadians,
why.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I probably do.
I even left a comment when you made one of the videos.
Oh, is it? Okay, right.
Yeah, it starts with a P. Anyway, they're from out west. There are a few provinces.
Oh, okay.
But the first year irked me to no end. And I hate when people do this, but I get why they do it. So they uploaded a video, part 1. Oh, we're done. It's not what we were hoping it would be. We don't know when we'll be back. And then they uploaded another one. Hey, can you want? And it was the same day because I pay attention to these things, right? My background psychology. I like get into people's heads when I'm watching videos and stuff. Then that same day they put up, oh, we need help. Send us money. Watch our videos. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nerds to you. I'm not sending you a damn dime, you moron.
Again, in the fear of repeating myself, those type of channels are for a certain generation, and we don't know if we can go back. If we get 3,000 likes, we'll go back. They went back anyway. They put part 2 up next day.
Oh, no, they waited for a few weeks. They made people wait for part 2 of their cliffhangers, the buggers. And I'm like, nerds to you, unsub. And stop telling people you're Canadian. You're an embarrassment to our country, you morons. Damn.
Like those kind of channels, I can understand why people like them. It's not for me. I'm not their audience, so I can. So me not liking that kind of thing is not a surprise to myself. But I can understand why people would enjoy that thing because maybe they're not there for the paranormal investigation; they're just there for the entertainment. I totally get that. It's just when I look in the comments and like, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. I hope you got on safe in your top of the range BMW F5 or whatever. And it's just that kind of thing. I don't know.
That jerk is the reason I haven't done a Sepesh video yet, because I did it because I love Dracula. Dracula was my first vampire.
Right. I thought you'd talk about Vlad now. Right. Okay, I got you. Okay. Yeah.
Vlad would have staked that moron.
100%.
Yesterday's news.
He would have been on a pike before he could say cornflakes.
Right up his jacksie.
He obviously and his viewers have never researched Vlad.
No.
Who comes from the country next door from me because my family's from Hungary. Even though the lines on the map changed, Lord help you if you ever tell them they're Romanian.
Yeah,
because
borders
the lines
change.
have
I know
gone
people
back
forget.
and forth, right? And so anyhow, Vlad, and so I've looked into the history. And by the way, there is some accuracy in Dracula from Stoker. And Dracula Untold is very close, other than the vampire part, to different things and giving kids to the Turks and all of that.
Mm,
But and I mean, again, different things say, some of it was propaganda because he turned the Turks around. He was only 20 the first time he went on the throne
yeah.
out of the 3 times. His dad had been murdered, brother buried alive. The guy had some issues. He'd been given to the Turks and got
He
to come
definitely had
home.
issues.
Yeah, he definitely had issues. But what he
Cute
would
cat.
not tolerate, oh, kitty, kitty.
Say hello to the cat.
God,
I have a black
claws,
kitty
claws
Panther.
like daggers.
Oh, Panther wouldn't be able to sit on me. He's 20 pounds of big fluff. But if anyone actually researched Vlad, it would be a no-brainer. Vlad is not in He Who Shall Not Be Named.
I'll say it. Vlad is not in Manchester. Put it that way.
Exactly.
Or wherever he's
Because
from.
he would not tolerate thieves. There was
There might be a
no
few bloodsuckers there, though.
I mean, he had no tolerance for thieves. He did a lot of goofy, weird, shady things, but things did not go on in his town when he was
And he's
in
also
charge.
not. I've had this idea in my head for a video for a while now, which I'll get to eventually. But he's not making phone calls to his house.
Yeah,
Vlad, I'm
exactly.
talking about now.
And I apologize to
God.
everyone for missing comments. I'm trying to keep up. Like I say, this is
We see your comments.
you guys are
Yeah.
typing in and commenting, so thank you for that, and thank you for your patience, everyone. We have Jenny who had said she'd heard footsteps and would stop at her bedroom door. And I've heard quite a few of those stories in different books that I have read and other things as well. And
See,
yes,
this is how I was going to say this is how weird I am, but this is how hopeful I am. As a kid, if I had heard footsteps at the land on my land, and I would have been petrified. As an adult, I live on my own. If I hear footsteps out there, I'll be petrified. I'll be like, "Oh, nice." At the same time, I'll be like, "Oh, yes."
and so you have the paranormal and dramatic effects seem to be inevitably linked for YouTube content. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It isn't even people trying to mislead or whatever, but in order to keep some viewers, there has to be some different things there. And that's the unfortunate part because, Mark, I do agree that if you sit, and Dan, I loved your start with the investigate in your home. I mean, when
Yeah.
you think about it, ghosts are everywhere. And when people are talking about, they need energy, why would they be out in the boonies in some abandoned house? They'd be in the city busting a move with the folks in the bars and the restaurants. Like, where else are you going to get all that energy? It's
It
not
go.
out in the boonies.
Yeah, what debunk the junk is saying, and also again going to Mark's thing a while back. Yeah, it's there's a lot of honest people. There is a lot of honest people doing
I
paranormal
agree.
investigations on YouTube. There's a lot of honest people. We know a lot of them. But like I've said this before, and I think maybe it's time for a change or time to try something different. They look the way they do investigation. The honest people are, and not all of them, but some of them. But the way they do investigations, they do it exactly like the people who fake stuff as well. So anyone from the outside can't tell the difference what they're looking at, whether there's between the honest people and between the fake people, because they're using all the same equipment. They're using phone apps. Don't get me started on them, but that's yeah. But I think something needs to change definitely. I don't know what, because I'm not a paranormal investigator. I'm not an expert in anything. But even the honest channels, no matter how honest you are, if you looked at them with an outsider's perspective, they look exactly like the fake channels doing the same stuff. That's the problem, I think, when it comes to YouTube.
Exactly.
And again, I can totally understand. You have to have some excitement or drama or interest in the video you're making, because again, why would people watch it otherwise? So I totally understand why certain people do certain things in their videos. I understand that absolutely. Otherwise, they wouldn't make a video about it. But I think it could take away from what they're trying to do on the grand scheme of things, no matter how honest they are. That's my take on the thing anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, because I agree. And the honest channels I found between the two of you. So I know they're out there. I know they're trying to find stuff, do an investigation, monetize. So, I mean, they're trying to make a livelihood, and, kudos to them. And I'm glad that there are some successful with Patreon and
Yeah.
memberships and monetize. So, like I said, no shade on any of them, because trying to coordinate places, you do the traveling, the expense, that equipment is not inexpensive. So even shelling out to buy that stuff, I mean, it's a big investment.
Yeah.
And Dan, you're exactly right, because they use the entertainment channels who don't always put entertainment on their about page. And therein lies the issue, right? Is unless you're really paying attention, and I mean, thanks to you in the shape, because you show the editing and how to break things down and the masking and all those things to look for, right? As do other debunkers as well. But I learned a lot of the different editing things from the two of you. But I have to admit, I have yet to see a single video, top 5 or otherwise, that will ever make me scream.
I've definitely jumped the top 5s, but for all the wrong reasons.
Well, and sometimes I laugh. I used to watch Ben, and I'm like, what are you screaming about? BS. Like, what are you losing your mind over?
Yeah. To turn it to 30 Strive.
Yes, I was going to say we're almost an hour.
We started there. Well, let's get back onto it.
Yeah, to turn it back to 30 Strives. I've been there, obviously.
My live streams.
Mine are exactly the same.
Yeah. I've been to 30 Strive. I went with the Ouija Brothers. I very much enjoyed it. Mark, I think, has been there way more than I've ever have.
No, I've only been there once, mate.
Oh, okay, right.
I was there. I was there literally the week. You were there one week, and I was there the next.
I do remember Steve and Griff saying they had someone along at the time. I can't remember now, but yeah. When I went there, it was the first time I met up with the Ouija Brothers, and they're two top blokes. They couldn't be nicer. Griff, Steve, they're proper nice blokes. Fair play to them. And to me, they truly believe what they are doing. Truly believe. I think they're great. When I went to 30 Strive, it reminded me of my nan's house in the 1980s. That's the vibe I got it to go. It was a typical terraced house, or semi-detached, from the furniture and the stuff in there was probably like, I'd say late 70s, early 80s, just from a guess looking at it. And for me, nothing happened. I didn't have any bad vibe. I didn't have nothing. I slept on the settee in front of the spooky mirror in the living room. I had a great time. I was boiling because of the height of summer. But when it comes to I think 30 Strive, because whatever. But the videos which I've seen there, the only thing I've ever seen happen there, apart from the caretaker, I'm not going to get into that. I've already covered that many times, right? But is the stuff at the top of the stairs, which is always precariously placed right at the edge. That's the only thing. I've never seen anything else happen there. I've never seen anyone run out there terrified, what have you. The last time I heard someone actually say about a poltergeist pulling them or pushing them or seen a hooded figure was the original story from the 1960s. That's I've looked into newspaper clippings. I've looked everywhere because I was going to make a detailed video about 30 Strive. The only full-blown story I've ever heard is the original story from the Pritchards and the Farrers. And that's it. And then after that, it was Colin Wilson who wrote the book, I think, in the 80s or something.
Yes.
He's an author, wrote about it, and then obviously the movie came out. And when the movie came out, that's when the East Drive kicked off. And there's a bit of an incentive in the person who made the movie to own the house. This is my opinion. In the person who made the movie to own the house, there's an incentive there to say, yes, this is the most haunted house in the UK. I don't know how many houses I've ever seen that said that this is the most haunted house in the UK. I think it's about 15 I can list off right now who say that.
Probably more than that.
Yeah. And
just as many pubs as well, mate.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
that's
true.
that. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. When it comes to 30 East Drive, not just 30 East Drive, but that's obviously the topic. Is there's a monetary incentive for that to be the most haunted house in the UK, and obviously for people to go there. Regarding the video part of it, the YouTubing part of it, it brings in a lot of traction. That kind of thing. So I can understand why people go there. I'm not saying they go there because of that, but it helps the algorithm, put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thing.
They just to answer that question that's just popped up there from Stridley.
I think so.
They charge Monday to Thursday. They charge £300 for the night.
Yeah,
that's not per person. That's just for and it's the weekends. Friday and Saturdays and Sunday is £400 a night.
No.
And it's booked up pretty much 365 days a year, pretty much.
Yeah, I imagine you would have to book well in advance.
Yeah.
To get a date. Now, here's an interesting point I wanted to cover, because both of you have been there, and I printed off a few things from the internet because I've seen different episodes but didn't know much about it. Now, this is from experiencewakefield.co.uk, which is so funny. The last paragraph, 30 East Drive is now open to visitors, although the owners do not recommend staying the night and will even try to discourage you from doing so. The website clearly states that this is not a traditional guest house or bed and breakfast, and visitors will not be covered by insurance if they choose to visit. Now, you have both been there. Do you have to sign a form, or did Steve or Griff have to sign?
I didn't, but I was a guest. I turned up after the fact, so I have no idea. But I was a guest, so I didn't have to sign anything.
There is meant to be a waiver you're meant to sign when you actually when you go there. I didn't do it either, again, because I was a guest of Steve and Griff. So if I was to go there myself, I might get the waiver. But I've heard people before saying that they were never offered the waiver.
Oh, really?
But yeah.
I mean, to be honest, there's a very good point, to be honest, because I'll have to ask a few people who've been there if they've signed a waiver, because to me, right, that's like putting a warning at the beginning of your video. Is to get the tension up. Warning, this is going to be a horrible video. Yeah. And then, I can't wait. I think that's the same thing myself.
Well, it's the same as what Elaine just said there, reading that article. It's like old-fashioned clickbait back in the day. Isn't it?
Exactly what it is. It's old-fashioned clickbait. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Well, see, and I'm wondering, because that and the other information I got was from the 30 East Drive website itself. And I'll enter both of those into the description box after the live. But I thought that was funny that here it is on this touristy website. Ooh, don't want you going there. And I'm like, and I wasn't thinking of it from the clickbait point. I'm like, then why are they charging people to go to this site?
It's the same thing when you're going to go train at a fairground. Enter at your own peril.
Yeah,
to make it sound scary.
I'll go as far to say it's the same as a wet paint sign: "Do not touch."
Yeah,
you're going to touch it, aren't you?
You got to touch it.
That's true. That's sort of like in BookTube, which is kind of, since I've waffled away from a lot of the paranormal, I've kind of landed into BookTube since about January, February, and made a lot of great connections there. And there's a banned book project that started in January from MJ, and it's amazing because as soon as to me you say you shouldn't read this, it's banned. Well, I got to know, what is this book
Yeah, yeah.
about?
I'm reading that. It's the same
Yeah.
with movies. If they were banned in '80s, I'm watching it.
Yeah. Wasn't the Evil Dead when that
The-
first came out? Wasn't that banned?
The Evil Dead is one of my favorite films of all time, and yes, it was banned for a time. I think only in the UK, though. I think it was banned.
Yeah.
I remember it being talked about at school.
Yeah,
Oh, it's been banned. Oh God, it must be horrible.
yeah. Let's pass the VHS around and watch it.
Yeah.
And same with, like and follow for part 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Diane, stay off the grass
Yeah,
signs.
exactly the same,
Right?
yeah.
As soon as you tell people don't, or you're, go
Human
back
beings are
about the no
dysfunctional by
Ouija
nature, so
ritual.
that's what we do. We go against the grain. That's what we do.
Exactly. And so, see, Dan with the Ouija board behind him, and me who won't have one in my house. But Mark, what about when you went to 30 East Drive? What happened for you there, or anything?
I tell you what, I remember actually walking in there, and me and Steve, not Steve, my friend that was with me, Steve.
Yep.
I got a little bit of anxious before I got in there, driving up to it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, to be fair. And I have a funny feeling I know where it came from, because you get
It's the apprehension of what
the
you've been
apprehension.
told about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I'm already clickbait myself in my own mind. Yeah. So I mean, I know some very honest people that have been there. So obviously, Steve and Griff, Diane's been there many times with Justin from Paranormal Truth.
Yep.
Justin and Dale, they had a fantastic experience there. But who's to say they're actually? I don't know. Is there something there? I don't know. I really don't know. But I've had some very honest people who are classed as friends, who have had some very interesting things happen there. When I went there, I don't think I had anything really happened. When we first walked in there, me and Steve, we went and sat down in the living room with Steve and Griff, just chewing the fat for a bit, and heard this like big bang has come from upstairs. And I was like, and I'm looking at Steve sat next to me on the couch. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on there? It's happened already. And even I said to Steve and Griff, I said, "You hear that?" He said, "Yeah." And Steve Griff says, "I don't worry about that." Where are you? And are things actually happening? I don't know. But the cameras weren't rolling. We were just chatting amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
But I have actually booked 2 nights at East Drive next year.
Oh, nice.
But I did that quite a few months ago there now, and my mindset's kind of changed. I had an idea.
Have you paid for it?
I've deposited.
Oh, okay, right.
So I think I paid about 120 quid for the 2 nights deposit.
Yeah.
But then if you're going to go, you've got to pay. If you are going to go, you're going to have to pay the rest of it. So
True.
I'm in two minds whether to actually it's gutting to actually lose 120 quid. Is it worth me actually talking to them about it?
I know how much I'd rather lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Here's the thing, and you've both been there. It's an attached house.
Yeah.
And I hear when investigators go, and different things I've seen, and including the different books I've read from investigators and that, they want it quiet. You don't want it contaminated. You want to know where your teammates, everyone is, so you can quickly eliminate. But then you have a woman next door with her grandkids. How do you eliminate that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the place is built. The Wakefield I can't remember the estate. It's called Chequersfield. Is this Chequersfield?
Chequersfield Estate.
Yes.
Chequersfield Estate. It's similar to. It's not similar, but like where I grew up is all mining. It was a mining community, and all terraced houses built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. A bit from stone and mortar and stuff, and most of the houses growing up, you could knock that wall, and it's like that. You know?
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure if the East Drive house is like that, but from the time it was built, it's probably similar stuff. Like, you know, so the walls I imagine are pretty thin for the two houses. I'm saying, you know, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I can't
Yes.
confirm that myself.
The estate was built for welcoming back soldiers from World War II.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a place to house them, and for social for people on social benefits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And hence, they're all council houses, so or used to be anyway.
I mean, not to speak ill of the place, that was my apprehension, not the ghost. It was the estate I was
Yeah.
going to. That was my apprehension.
Well, see, and the other question that I had, and again, this is just guesstimating and putting it out there. Why would it be more? And again, I'm thinking because to me, essentially, it's one building with a divider. Why would it be more on the one side than the other? Especially if, and I could be remembering this wrong, if the well was on Carol's side, why is the monk on the other side?
Well, I don't think there ever was a well.
Hmm.
Okay.
I know a few people that have actually gone back in not
The
geological.
records
What
of
do
it?
you call the
Like the land deeds and
the
stuff?
ordnance survey maps?
Yeah, on the service maps.
Old ordnance survey maps from
Okay, yeah.
back in the day. And there's no well. There are wells, old wells around there, but not directly in that area.
On the
They're kind of like out of the area, really. They're positioned on old ordnance survey maps. I had a chap that I've never met him, but Mike Cavell, a great historian, and he's done a lot on East Drive as well. And one of the reasons why I'll just go back to my video that in East Drive. Part of the reason why I did the Battle of Pontefract was because I was talking to Mike about it. And I had actually, and before Mike mentioned this to me, I actually heard, because when I first started watching the Ouija Brothers and they were doing 30 East Drive, I wanted to actually research the place myself before I even started investigating on YouTube. And I found out that there was a battle then around the area, not exactly on East Drive itself. It's just off to the battle site was apparently just off behind those houses. But obviously that you got the castle right there. I'm not saying that those records are incorrect, but there could be. I don't think they're going to be exactly pinpointed to that certain area, and there could have been skirmishes and battles all over that area. To be fair, the amount of times that castle got sieged. But he was the chap that said, he says nobody ever really talks about the battles that have been around that kind of area. I says, well, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I wanted to actually try and research, because I don't actually believe the Black Monk story.
No,
story.
I only know about the Battle of Pontefract because I looked it up a while back, and I was looking for stories about not black monks, but I was looking for stories about monks in general in that area. And what I could the only thing I could find, I mean, you might know more about this, Mark. The only thing I could find that the nearest abbey, I think, is about 8 or 9 miles away.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they just hung around abbeys and stuff, monks. I mean, they probably did, but that was that was the nearest, and there was no story of monks being executed. I looked quite deep into that. Yeah. I couldn't find any stories of monks being executed.
I'm not discounting the whole monk theory entirely, because battles are won and lost many times around them areas.
Yeah.
And there could well have been monks actually there on the battlefield that got killed themselves when they actually when they were trying to address the dead.
That is true. Yeah.
Or dying.
Sorry,
it did. I saw that one.
I'm fully aware of that episode. I made a video on it a long time ago, and people kept saying to me, Nick Groff never went to 30 East Drive, and I said, watch that video.
Now, Diane says
Yep.
monastic community within the castle itself.
Oh,
And
there you go. Right.
I mean, that's the challenge as well, is trying to figure out the old records and when where things were. And because I also have an interest in ancient cultures, and I've gone down this huge Da Vinci spiral lately and getting into all of that. But the farther back you go, the harder it is to make sense of things, because the calendar changed at one point.
True. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not like they dated things. Oh, this is from 1000
Yeah.
BCE.
Yeah.
So you have to keep in mind, did the person who pulled all this together do their due diligence and factor in for a date change or not? So it does, the history becomes quite a challenge.
Yeah.
And actually, so Thorne says, in my opinion, having deaths in a building doesn't automatically mean it's going to be haunted.
No.
And I agree. And Mark, you've talked about the stone tape theory, and I've heard
Yeah.
other people talk about it. But here's my question: why would it only record bad things? I mean, these buildings must have had weddings and whatnot. So if it records something negative,
Mm.
why wouldn't it record something positive and
Yeah.
energetic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because if it's happy emotion or violently sad emotion, it's still emotion.
Yeah. And it'd be
Um.
intense, especially
Yep.
if it's, like a wedding, right?
Yep.
It would be intense and should be able to be recorded. And the idea, I believe, is that it's
Sorry.
replayed. No worries. Should be replayed. So why is it just the negative things that people assume generate a haunting, or get recorded and
Yeah.
replayed?
Maybe it's something to do with actually having. I mean, I go back to my theory around the East Drive phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
The if violent deaths are more prone to have again theory to have that emotion drawn out um, rather than happy emotions, then yeah, it could just be that. So again, battlefields, like I say, people die violently and very suddenly on the battlefield, and
Yeah.
if you believe the human body has a soul or an energy, it it may not actually, that soul or energy may not want to actually leave quite yet. May have unfinished business. Again, a theory. I'm not saying that's gospel. It's all interesting, but it's
Agreed.
never ever been proved, scientifically proved. I mean, I'm not going to go into science of things there now anyway, but because it'll get me started on the likes of K2s and even though I do use them, I feel like I actually want to make a video of smashing my K2s with a big hammer.
But I mean, that's the thing, and all we really do have to go on is theories. And I just want
I
speaking
just
of,
want to actually
yeah,
say,
yeah.
person in the chat who's got an exceptionally fantastic name, Snorkel Bottom. What a wonderful name that is. And he says, yeah, wasn't there a movie about 30 East Drive?
Yeah.
Yes, there was, and it was called When the Lights Went Out.
Thank you for catching that, Mark. I appreciate that. And yeah, Stridey is also saying we're such, meaning you, such a small country with a rich history. If you throw a dart at a map, you could always link paranormal to something. And it's true, there are so many things that have happened, right? And this is why I say, when you think about it, there must be ghosts everywhere, because
Yeah,
when you think of everything that's happened, how long humanity has been around, whether you believe it's the 4,000 or 10,000 or much longer time period, there are just so many things that have happened, and it may have come up, and this is by Richard Palmisano, Journeys into the Unknown. Plug in the Canadian, and I'm so excited because he just lives a few hours from me, and he was on a live stream a few weeks ago, which was awesome, and being able to talk to him about his investigations. I think it was in his book. I know he talks about clusters and spirits getting together because people are always asking, well, how do they know what these machines and things are? But it's the most recently deceased that you would connect with. And so they all kind of share information. But this is one of his older books. I know he's changed his theories as well. Now, the two of you, because I mean, I am a book channel, right? So I'm going to have books for everything.
Who's
A
that?
Life with Ghosts. Now, I'm willing to bet the two of you may know Steve Gonsalves. Gonsalves?
Oh, Gonzalez. No? Oh, wait. Hang on, yeah.
I personally don't, because I'm not really much of a book reader.
That name does actually ring a bell to me for some reason.
But
Hang
if
on.
you watch TV, you would. He's from Ghost Hunters. I don't watch TV
Ah, yes,
paranormal.
okay.
All right. See,
If
I
it
don't
had
really
been
watch. I don't really
Jason
watch Ghost
Hawes-
Hunters, to be fair.
Yeah,
No.
see, if it had been Jason Hawes, I would have known, and not just because of all the
Yeah.
Conjuring stuff right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And when I and this is from the line. When I
Look,
first
it looks a
picked
bit
it
like
up-
Dan with a flat cap on.
Yeah, that's it. Look at it.
I have that generic
There
face.
But when he started in the front, it's already considered to be one of the top paranormal investigators in the world
Oh,
and
yeah.
a pioneer in the industry. Now, it's funny because I did a library hall video, I'm like, ego much?
Pioneer in the TV industry, probably more like. That's how I'd point at.
But what I have to say is, I am very impressed, and there is no ego. He sounded very humble. He talked about the investigations. He talked about being serious and not trying to BS people. Talked about the crew. I'm impressed. I will eventually buy a copy of his book. And the thing he does say with the paranormal, and it's a definition I agree, is that it's just science cannot explain it right now. It doesn't mean there isn't something to it. It's
Yeah.
like gravity. They know we have gravity, but they can't actually totally explain why it exists. It's like anything, they have theories. But I think the big challenge myself with the paranormal is there's no basis, there's no glossary or set definition. Like in astronomy, you know what a meteor is, you know what a planet is, and every astronomer agrees this is what makes a planet.
Hmm.
But when you get into the paranormal, what is a poltergeist? Is it just a mischievous spirit? Is it just with adolescents and psychokinetic and they're unconsciously having things impacted? Is it a combination of both? This one and this book, she is Canadian too, but doesn't mean it didn't irritate me because she didn't cite her sources, and there's no way to follow it up. One of the most recent theories about poltergeists is that all poltergeistic phenomena have at their base a source of energy in the form of repressed human sexual feelings. Give me a break. Freud was gone a while ago, and I didn't like Freud when I was in school. I'm a Carl Jung and Abraham Maslow.
So it actually reminds me when I first not first discovered what a poltergeist was, but when one of the first ever stories. It's going to blow your mind. This is one of the first ever stories I actually read. Yeah, it was in the Eagle Comics, which was a British comic with Dan Day and all that, and it was a story in that about this poltergeist in this restaurant, and then the group who were investigating, they figured out it was the kid, the angsty kid, because he had emotional issues or whatever. that made me to become a good kid when I was younger because that scared the crap out of me. And it was in the Eagle comics.
I think I don't know what's actually the more scary. Either like an invisible spirit that likes to chuck things around, or an adolescent human that can actually chuck things around with its mind.
Yeah,
And unconsciously.
I
Yeah.
think the telekinesis thing is way cooler though to me.
Yeah.
I've
Imagine
tried
you're
it
at
in the
the
past.
current-
It's never happened.
You've watched Scanners, the old horror film, haven't
I
you?
have stared at objects for ages and nothing's happened. I'm really disappointed.
See, you should have trained with Uri Geller. I mean, come on, that guy
Yeah.
can bend spoons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
kinds of things. But I do think that is part of the challenge with the paranormal is because how do you all decide what you've caught? And actually and I was asking Richard that on the live too. I'm like, because in his book he doesn't really specify a poltergeist. And what he was saying in the live is, why can't you just call it a ghost? It's like saying one is take two kids and one's the good kid and one's the bad kid. Why would you label one the bad kid that when they're energy and just exhibiting different things? But it gets confusing, and even Thorne's saying isn't there multiple different types of ghosts? How come you only hear about the mean ones?
Hmm.
That goes back to stone tape. How come it's only the murders that get recorded and not the weddings and
Yeah.
the Christmas parties?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's and it's the same, right? This is oh, Reach Beyond. I'm just Reach Beyond. It's been a great listen. Need to go back. Thank you. So lots of compliments. Like I say, I'm trying to
I
keep
reach
up
beyond.
because this is so new. So I apologize if I'm behind. I see people are commenting back and forth. Oh, documentary by Andrew Gold. Went to Brazil. Mainly young girls. So, and that's something and again, like there's so many different things, right? And different people have different theories. There is one, and Dan, I did want to bring this up when you were mentioning before about entertainment, and that's okay, and the impact. And
Yeah.
I agree. If you've said it's entertainment, but as I was reading Monster Hunters, and this is by T. Krulos, he's in America, I believe it's Milwaukee. And I ended up looking into this, and I'll be doing a review on this book much later. But this has to do with Slender Man.
Oh, okay.
And this book was published in 2015. And as he was doing the book, a location not far from where his parents live is where the incident happened. Two young girls, 12
Yeah,
year old,
I know the story. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
believed in Slender Man. Took their friend. Well, there wasn't their friend. They just took her.
It's a really tragic story, actually.
It's
Yeah.
horrific.
Yeah.
And one is now out. Now, thankfully, the other girl survived. She managed
Yeah.
to be found. But this is what worries me, especially when I hear these channels and they have a younger audience.
Yeah.
And this one young woman, now the judge decided to try them as adults, even though the one was diagnosed schizophrenic. He decided because of the crime and the intensity and everything, they were tried as adults. One is now out, but with supervision for the next few years. I don't know if the other one ever will. But this is what worries me when fake paranormal pretends to be real and it's a younger audience. They don't know the mental health, they don't know the background, they don't know the influence. I would say you're fake and making it up. That's all you need to do.
I totally agree on that part because I mean, I don't see it that much now, but like say about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, YouTube Paranormal. You had your standard investigation stuff, but you also had like, I found a dead body and all that kind of crap. And they didn't, and they were like go to the most grossest, tragic story just to get the people to pile into the video.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can totally understand, affecting mental health and it has. I've had people email me loads of times about how certain videos has affected them.
Of course.
And and the thing with the Slender Man, obviously, it was a creepy pasta. I don't even know if it was a creepy pasta. Was it? I can't remember. But it started out as a.
I think it was actually.
Yeah, it might have been a creepy pasta, and unfortunately,
Creepypasta.
I know, yeah, creepy pastas, and unfortunately, those two girls, for whatever, well, probably because of social media, took it as fact. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but and when it comes to, like I said, when it comes to a lot of fake channels, some of them they're just having a laugh and they're just going along with it, and they're not telling their viewers, look, it's not real, but it could be real. They're not doing that. But then there's others out there who are absolutely fleecing their bloody viewers into thinking they are the chosen one, and this is what's going to happen if you're not this type of person or whatever. And that those are the kind of channels I do have issues with. So yeah.
And I saw your video too, and Thorn brings up a good point as well, is the one you skipped because
I did, yeah. I absolutely skipped that. That really got to me.
That's harrowing. That was harrowing, that one, man.
Yeah, because I get, obviously, even when I explained it, I skipped it as well because the audio is in that video in full and it's horrible.
Yeah.
And it proper got to me because I was just imagining that woman being in that forest with her husband or whatever. And horrible. Don't get me wrong, top 5 channels, they have their fun, and they are fun for the most part. There are a lot of, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say it, there are a lot of bollocks in them. If you don't mind me saying it. But sometimes some top 5 channels, and not just top 5s, other channels on YouTube as well, I think they overstep that mark sometimes without thinking.
Yep.
Without thinking the consequences of what this could do to people watching it, or and I had some people saying in the comments, "Oh, we like morbid stuff," and that's fine. I like a good documentary about like a bloody serial killer or something. I watch documentaries all day, but I think when you put a top 5 channel, when it comes to a top 5 channel, at least, then they're rarely taken seriously. They have their funny jokes in them, and then that clip came up. I thought it was extremely bad taste myself. And only a few times in the past I've seen that happen in top 5 channels. And I think they sometimes forget to get that crowd in, to get the people to watch their videos. I think they sometimes forget about the human responsibility of putting something like that on the internet just because they've seen it on Twitter or something. Twitter's a terrible place at the moment. You'll see stuff like that all the time. But
Elon's letting everyone run amok.
Yeah.
There's no rules.
I know. Yeah, I think social media, it helps people desensitize to things that if they saw them in real life, they would react very differently to, like certain situations. And with social media, I think it helps put the blinkers over people, or the blanket, put the cushion in front of them. And I think sometimes they forget that there's a human response, people watching or reading about that, and maybe they shouldn't put that out on the internet. That's what I think, anyway. So.
And I'm just laughing at Diane's because that's what I call it too.
Yeah, I'd rather call it anything else other than X.
X marks the spot.
Yeah.
But I think that is the challenge, and there are a lot of good things to social media. Without it, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Letting people say their piece is good. It's just so darn hard. I mean, no matter, and I laugh because I actually started my channel July 2022. I didn't upload anything until April 2023. And I must have deleted 30 videos before I ever hit up, because I'm like, I sound stupid. I didn't want to say that. It would take me all bloody morning to make one video because of the, well, do I say this? Do I say, oh, what if someone's offended? And I'm like, it doesn't matter what I say. Someone's going to be offended about
Somebody's going to be annoyed at you no matter what you say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and Dan, I've heard you say that in your videos, and I'm always like, you're right. Like, if you're, a little bubble, you're not going to survive on YouTube very long.
No.
Like, eventually, someone. I mean, I'm still amazed because I put up a video about book banning in Florida, and I had a picture of DeSantis and Stephen King, and I'm like, wonder if this is the video that blows up. And how many people am I gonna like PO? And
It happens, unfortunately.
but you know what? And see, Jenny, you're too nice. Yeah, not all of us. But I have to admit, I lucked out huge. I only had 3 loved your video, great, good points. Only 3 that weren't like that. And the one person I do give credit to, and I pin their comment, they're like, it isn't a banned book. You can still buy them. They're available in stores, libraries. It should be a challenged book. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Another person said they're 46. They still can't look down a drain. Kudos to DeSantis for pulling 72 Stephen King books off the shelves.
I'm a big fan of Stephen King, by the way. So I
What's
don't want to
that?
burn his books. I
Yeah.
don't want to burn his books. I'm a big fan of Stephen King.
So am I. And so this person's, yay for taking them off the shelf. And I'm like, thank you for sharing what happened to you. Unlike you, I'm 60 years old. I have no problem with the drain. I started reading King when Carrie came out, and I read right up to Dolores Claiborne. Everyone should be able to make their own decision, and if they're not old enough, that's what you have parents for, that should be parenting.
Yeah.
Not the government telling you what you should read.
Yeah.
And see, we're off 30 East Drive.
One last thing about the social media. The thing with
Yes.
social media, and you'll see this all the time. You put a picture of a duck up and say, "This duck quacks." You get someone come along and say, "I'm actually a duck scientist," and they don't say quack. And yeah, that's social media. Yeah, that's social media in a nutshell,
Exactly.
right there.
You'll get some who will hop all over it. And
Yeah,
I mean, I left Facebook years ago. I mean, it was good for a
I got
while.
rid of that a long time ago.
Yeah, I left because it was just too much drama, and I was noticing and people would share out articles like crazy, but they never checked what they were about, whether they were fact, whether they were old. And I'm one of those people who, if I see something, I can't unsee it. So I would never go through the news feed. You coming up, Tiki? I would never go through the news feed because people would be sharing things about animals, and
Yeah, no,
I
that's
can't
the same
handle
with me.
that.
That stuff stays with me. That's why I avoid that.
Yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
picky about the Stephen King books that I'll read. Come on, sweetie. And this is Tiki. Tiki's tail at the moment. Are you
Little
gonna
cats.
say hi? Xena and
Tiki! I love cats. My mother got a cat. They always look miserable. They're the best, honestly.
Oh,
They're so funny.
well, Tiki is our only rescue from PetSmart. The rest of our cats were all rescues from our
Yeah.
backyard.
They just
There's
look
word
annoyed
went out.
24/7. They crack me up, cats. Honestly, they're brilliant.
Well, word went out. If you want a good house, move into Elaine's backyard. Give her the goo goo eyes, and you're golden, man. You're living like a king and a queen, right, Tiki? But yeah, and so that's why I am very careful, especially with King. Like, I couldn't reread Cujo, and I find it's worse as I
Yeah,
get
Cujo.
older.
Yeah.
Because I loved Jack London, but I'd never get through White Fang or his stories again. I can't. John Carpenter.
Yeah, I love.
Stephen
Yeah.
King. Yeah, and I love a lot of King's work. I mean, Carrie was my hero in high school because I used to get bullied and picked on, and I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, wouldn't it be cool if, not the whole blood and gore thing, but
No.
just flick one of the jerks across the gym or something? I would have rocked.
I have seen Carrie countless times over the years. The end still gets me every single time. Every single time.
Now, see, I haven't seen the new one, and that's what
I haven't
gets
seen the
me.
new. I've only seen the original.
Sissy Spacek
Yeah.
to me is
Yeah.
Carrie, but I get why for a younger audience, because I used to watch MacGyver before Richard Dean Anderson went on Stargate.
I'm a big fan of
Loved
Richard Dean
it.
Anderson.
Yeah, I loved MacGyver. He'd always get out of everything. It was wonderful. But then I tried to watch it a few years ago, and I'm like, you don't have a cell phone? This would have been so different. I can't. It's dated now. The Addams Family will always be the Addams Family classic. You can't change them with the cell phone. But I couldn't watch MacGyver. I'm like, crap. I like that. Oh,
yeah, but he
which
could have
one?
invented his own cell phone network, and that's the way it worked.
He should have, right? But I can't watch The Boys. Sorry, Dan. I watched 2 seasons. Even with Jensen Ackles season 3, it's like, no, I don't need to see his naughty bits in the It's just not for me, man.
I'm a big fan of that show.
I know. Every time I just cringe when I hear you say it. I'm like, Keith Urban is awesome, and like he was in Thor. Just watched Lord of the Rings because every once in a while we do like a Lord of the Rings or Hobbit day. Starts with breakfast right to dinner. But I'm like, no, can't watch The Boys anymore. It just got, I don't know, too extreme, I guess. Do you watch it, Mark?
I watched the first season. I watched the first season. That's about it.
Yeah.
It is a very extreme show, unfortunately.
Yeah. I tell you what I watched recently, and I'm way behind the times watching this. I only just finished watching it about 2-3 weeks ago. It's Wednesday. You mentioned the Addams Family before.
I still haven't seen
it.
It's
it. Really good. I really enjoyed it actually. It's
it does look good.
Being a fan of like the old Addams Family things as well, and I used to watch the Addams Family cartoons as well when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I loved them. To be fair, it was really good. There was some very, very good references in there as well, where they went fishing using hand grenades, which was just brilliant. That's a proper good reference. That is.
Now, see, I bought the first book of the Game of Thrones.
I love Game of Thrones. Love Game of Thrones.
See, didn't watch the end of that either. There was just way too many. And it's not I'm a prude, and I get things are different in Britain. There was too much of it. I wanted more dragons. I mean, obviously.
There is a way too much dangly bits in Game of Thrones, definitely. So I agree on that.
Especially in the first few seasons.
Yeah.
Now, I did buy the first book to read it, and then I started thinking about the dire wolves, and I'm like, you know what, I think this is a book I can pass because I already know it does not go well for that dire wolf. So I don't know if I would Rings of Power, I watched the first few,
I haven't watched it yet.
No, not yet.
And I don't think there's a new season yet. And we have
second season's out.
Is it?
Of Rings of Power, yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Now, see, I ended up we started Wheel of Time a few years ago, and then it kept getting put off for season 2. Excuse me, but I watched the first season, and then I realized it was based on books, so I ended up buying the whole set of books, so now I don't need to watch it when it comes on TV because the books are better and they're so different. Well, Thorne, welcome to my lives.
I am gonna have to end my end soon, mind, because I have.
It's your bedtime.
Yeah, it's not that I just haven't eaten since I got home from work yet.
I was gonna email you and say, Dan,
I know.
for the live.
I had stuff to do when I got home from work, and I didn't have a chance, and I came straight to you. So I'm wasted away right now. I'm going to be so skinny. I'm not. But, yeah.
Slender man.
Exactly. Well, perhaps then we should wrap up because I know it's Friday night, and Mark, you've also got things to do, no doubt. And I really do appreciate that we had a chance to do this.
I very much enjoyed this, by the way. Genuinely, really enjoyed this. I have.
I did. No, I did. I'm going to reiterate that what Dan's just said. I really enjoyed it. Many thanks for having us on, Elaine. It's I know I don't watch your stuff all the time, but I do drop in now and again, and I really enjoy it. So so please keep going and doing what you're doing because it's good.
Oh,
I agree. I've enjoyed your book streams. I haven't been there for a while now because I've just been too busy. But the ones I've caught in the over the past, I've really enjoyed the book streams. Fair play. I really enjoyed. Can't beat talking about a good book.
Well, and it's funny because when I have the booktubers on, I actually started with a set of 10 questions because you never know how it's going to go, right? And I thought, well, if I have questions, yep, I'm batting 100. So far, not once have we even gotten to 2 of the questions out of the 10, and we usually go 2.5 hours. I'm like, oh my goodness. So now it's just a joke that I actually have questions to ask people. But I so appreciate it because I know you have busy schedules and the time difference. And well, we did at least talk a bit about 30 East Drive.
I think we covered pretty good stuff with 30 East Drive myself.
Yeah, we did. I mean, you could talk about that place forever and a day, I suppose, but you might just be going over and over the same things.
Yeah.
You could. Well, I so much thank you for your time, the compliments on the channel, and I'm going to stick with it. Every once in a while, I go, oh, who am I kidding? I'm not even at 500. But then I look at my...
Don't look at the numbers. Don't look at the numbers.
I only look at one number, Dan, and that's my returning viewers.
Yeah.
And it's always over 70. And I figure if there's 70 people out there who enjoy my quirky, eccentric content and stuff,
exactly,
then I keep trying.
For the first...
I love the small community as well. So
for the first 4 to 5 years of my YouTube channel, I was happy to have 20 to 40 people just watch my videos every now and again. I was very happy about it. So don't look at the numbers. Just keep doing what you enjoy, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. I know it's a bit of a cliched thing to say, but you do you, and keep on doing you.
Yeah,
well, I appreciate that, and it does make a huge difference because, like I say, you're my 2 heroes. So this has just been amazing.
That was a very low bar, I might say so, for myself.
Oh, it is not. At Christmas, when you gave me the shout out with those other 4 top hitters like Mark and Ouija Brothers, and my husband was home on holidays, I'm like, holy shit, look, I'm on YouTube. Dan's talking about me.
I was happy to.
So I really
I say many thanks to everybody that joined the stream as well and joined the chat.
I have been reading the chat. I've been enjoying it.
There's been some fantastic things in there.
I do apologize for not being able to get so many of the comments up, but Mark and Dan have been helping me out. I've been throwing in hellos and trying to remember names. So thank you so much for your patience, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Cheers all.
Thanks very much. Cheers, folks.
Wait, because you never